Brookland News Live begins right now. Here's Mitchell.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jackson Mitchell. So good to be with you. It's another busy news day here on this Friday. We are monitoring a number of headlines. Let's take you to some of the feeds that we are following right now. Let's begin first with this one in Washington, D.C. We're going to keep our eye on this because former President Joe Biden expected to receive an LGBTQ plus award. Later, sometime here, they are holding a panel here. We've been monitoring this event for a little bit now, and we're gonna see what comes about there. Plus, here in Brooklyn, the sun is out, but it is still a cold. Still a jacket, maybe a few layers necessary before you head out the door. We'll break down what the forecast looks like in just moments. We do want to start first with some news that we have been following throughout the last little bit. Just moments ago, a press conference being held in Louisiana after Operation Swamp Sweep begins. Stand by here. We'll take you right there. Mayor-elect Marino in responding to that. This is a feed we're just getting. Again, this is just moments ago. Stand by here. We'll take you there. Here we go. Again, just moments ago in Louisiana.
And today we are standing here united, expressing our deep concern over recent actions by Border Patrol in our city and in our region. While we, of course, firmly believe that the most dangerous and violent offenders must be taken off of our streets, unfortunately, it does not appear that these are the people being targeted in Operation Catahoula Crunch. This operation is actually causing harm for the city of New Orleans, and it's causing harm for people beyond those who are being targeted. We have businesses that are closing. We have workers afraid to show up. And ultimately, there is an economic impact, a negative economic impact that is spreading across our city and also across our region. We, of course, recognize federal law and federal enforcement authority, but we also stand here with an obligation to ensure that federal operations are conducted transparently, constitutionally, and with respect for local residents. Our priorities are, of course, public safety, protection of people's rights, and maintaining trust between government and the community. So today we want to bring to you demands of the Border Patrol. And these are demands that the City Council has actually just sent over to Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino, that I've been watching y'all's media reports, and he appears to be in our city and in our region. There are 5 points to these demands. The first starts with reporting requirements to ensure public trust. We are requesting regular public briefings from federal agencies that include data on the stops, detentions, warrants, and outcomes, information on civil rights compliance and oversight mechanisms. We are specifically asking for clear information on the number of individuals detained within city limits, the legal basis for each detention, including warrants or charges, whether anyone without a warrant has been taken into custody, and if any of the people detained have violent criminal histories. Without this full visibility into these enforcement actions, it is impossible to determine whether this particular operation is actually targeting the most dangerous offenders. We've constantly heard on the news claims that this operation is about going after rapists, pedophiles, and murderers, but is it really casting a much wider net? The second piece that we want to talk about in our second demand is due process protections. Every person, regardless of immigration status or background, actually has constitutional protections. So we expect prompt access to legal representation, clear notification of rights during encounters with federal agents, no detentions without properly issued warrants or clear probable cause. The third piece, and this is a really key and critical piece, we insist that all federal agencies comply with the request of our NOPD chief, Ann Kirkpatrick, that they are clearly identified as law enforcement and that they are not wearing masks that obscure their identity. This is really important because this level of clarity protects not only the community, but also law enforcement agencies as well. Our fourth request has to do with safeguards against discriminatory enforcements. These are really safeguards against any type of profiling. The city expects firm assurances that no stops or detentions are based on race, ethnicity, national origin, language, or perceived immigration status. We are requesting demographic data to monitor and prevent unequal treatment. And finally, the fifth point and fifth demand are humanitarian considerations. We need assurances that any individual detained has access to medical care, necessary medications, language interpretation, and notification of family members. Federal operations must uphold the basic and humane treatment that all should be allowed in this country. Overall, our points are just very simple. They're simple. They're centered around communication, transparency, accountability, and upholding people's constitutional rights. I don't believe that we're asking for too much here. We have a series of different speakers today. I'll give you a little bit of the run of show. We'll go first with our Congressman Troy Carter. Then after that, it'll be City Council President J.P. Morrell speaking on behalf of the New Orleans City Council, followed by our former mayor, Mark Morial, also head of the National Urban League, Omero Lopez with Immigration Services and Legal Advocacy, Myra Pineda with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Sarah Whittington with the ACLU, and then Pastor Sean Ingram, who is representing a group of faith leaders here in our city of New Orleans. So, Congressman Carter, we'll start it with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor-elect. And thank you all for being here. I stand proudly and in unity with our Mayor-elect, our City Council members, our local and national leaders to address this grave concern. The concern surrounding recent federal activity in our community. Thank you all for being here. This show of unity says it all. New Orleans is a city with a soul. Our culture, our neighborhoods, our traditions, and a deep sense of community shape how we live and how we keep each other safe. Any law enforcement activity in our city, including federal operations, must honor that reality. It must reflect an understanding of our local laws, our norms, our people. I've been in communication with Homeland Security for further clarity. To date, we received no information. We must make sure that if you're going to come into the city of New Orleans, the state of Louisiana, any of our municipalities, there has to be a concerted effort. There has to be a basic degree of respect for local laws, for de-escalation, for the understanding of our municipal laws, our cultures, and our people, to coordinate. If you really want to help, Mr. President, there are ways you can do it. You can provide resources for more police officers, better training for police officers, training in the areas of de-escalation, working with the root cause and causes of crime. If you truly want to go after the bad guys, if you will, there's ways to do that. As a member of United States Homeland Security, I'll be requesting a full field hearing to be held here in New Orleans so we can directly address and assess these pressing issues in the light of day and in the presence of the people most affected. Let me be abundantly clear. We support strong action against violence and dangerous individuals. Public safety is a shared responsibility, and our city has worked hard to reduce crime through prevention, collaboration, and trust. We cannot support operations that create fear, confusion, or disruption for families, workers, or small businesses. Effective enforcement does not require heavy-handed tactics. It requires communication, de-escalation, transparency, and respect for the community being served. We want federal partners. We just don't want occupation. We want to have them work
Okay, you
with
were
us.
continuing to watch there. NOLA city officials and state officials speaking on the ICE presence and Border Patrol presence there in New Orleans. This comes after President Trump's administration has opened up Operation Swamp Sweep, essentially trying to remove illegal immigrants from the nation. It's caused lots of controversy across many of these big cities where they have been placed because they are alleging ICE is walking up to people that they believe is an illegal immigrant and kind of stereotyping them and then placing them under arrest, searching it with no warrant. These are all, of course, allegations there, but that is what they are alluding to and saying, alleging that ICE and Border Patrol is doing in these operations that have been launched across a number of large cities. We are continuing to monitor this event over in Washington. Former President Joe Biden expected to receive the LGBTQ plus Impact Award. A panel has just concluded there. We're waiting for the next one to begin. And when President Biden steps out, we will take you there live with a live look there. In the meantime, a CDC panel is meeting. This comes after discussing current recommendations for patients. We'll listen in here for just a moment.
Which has been critiqued for how much these conclusions or how these conclusions were made, and for the basis by which this regulatory threshold was thereby established. So why focus on aluminum dose in vaccines? Infants receive multiple aluminum-containing vaccines in a single visit under the current schedule. And as you just heard, in additional vaccines that have been added to the schedule, the appropriate testing was not performed. Another pharmacokinetic consideration is that dose per kilogram body weight is far higher in early infancy than in adults. Most significantly, neonatal kidneys, blood-brain barrier, and detoxification systems are not yet mature. There are, of course, similar considerations when studying vaccinations for children as well as for fetuses through vaccination during pregnancy. So let's review the aluminum content in vaccines. Here you see listed different vaccine products, whether monovalent or multivalent, in rows, according to their trade name and with respect to antigens in the columns. The aluminum content varies from 0.225 milligrams to 0.85 milligrams per dose. Here's the rest of the schedule. Of note, MMR, varicella, rotavirus are live attenuated vaccines, and along with meningococcal A and influenza vaccines, they do not contain aluminum. Here is a graphic showing the amount of aluminum in some of the vaccines in the childhood schedule. At one pediatrician visit, a child may be administered multiple aluminum adjuvanted vaccines. In one example, if a child receives Prevnar 20, Pedvax Hib, and Engerix B, and Infinrix, this is a total of 1,225 micrograms of aluminum. Noted here is that PCV, or pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, Hib or Haemophilus influenza type B vaccine, hepatitis B vaccine, and DTaP or diphtheria pertussis and acellular pertussis vaccine are administered multiple times by 6 months of age. It does bear reminding that the rate at which aluminum from vaccines migrates from human muscle at the injection site to the bloodstream, that rate is not known. Therefore, accumulation in tissues is not only a possibility, but a warranted concern. This slide demonstrates the difference between vaccine brand and combination selections. It is striking that there can be a twofold difference in the aluminum exposure despite the same schedule. Please keep in mind that there are proprietary reasons beyond the scope of this talk for these dose differences, and more importantly, that there may be other ingredients in each of these products that are not being shown here. So again, this can be another point of discussion for an ACIP work group that may choose to review this topic. Of note, by age 12 months of age, in contrast to the US, in Denmark, the children are exposed to roughly 3 to 4-fold lower amount of aluminum, as you just heard from Dr. Hogue as well. Taking into consideration child health concerns with respect to aluminum exposure, the FDA cited the Federal Register in 2003, saying the following: term infants with normal renal function may also be at risk because of their rapidly growing and immature brain and skeleton and an immature blood-brain barrier. Until they are 1 to 2 years old, infants have lower glomerular filtration rate than adults, which affects their kidney function. The agency is concerned that young children and children with immature renal function are at higher risk resulting from an exposure to aluminum. Now, I need to mention that this was being described in the context of environmental exposure, dermal exposure and absorption to aluminum antiperspirant. The aluminum antiperspirant is very different than aluminum adjuvants, obviously. However, the significance of this citation is that it acknowledges the immaturity of organs in infancy and their capacity to eliminate xenobiotics. And indeed, experimental and clinical data suggest that intramuscular...
Okay, a CDC panel on vaccine recommendations. I want to allow you guys, I want to kind of give you guys an idea of what's kind of going on here, because I know it can be hard kind of to understand some doctoral opinions and doctoral language. But again, the big news here coming out of the health world today is that this panel, Vaccine Advisory Committee, has voted to remove the universal recommendation for hepatitis B shot at birth. The recommendations state that if a mother tests negative for hepatitis B, parents should decide, with the guidance of their healthcare provider, whether the shot is right for the newborn, referred to as, quote, individual-based decision-making, according to a document with the ICIP voting language. So we were just listening in a little bit to the committee because they've been meeting for now 2 days, talking about kind of vaccine recommendations for children, for adults, and things of that nature. So we are, though, watching where we expect soon this event there on the right side of your screen, where we expect soon former President Biden will receive the LGBTQ plus Impact Award. I want to turn to that story really quickly. Let's listen in.
If I may borrow a touch of Irish wisdom, a good heart is better than all the heads in the world, and Joe Biden has one of the biggest hearts we've ever known. He shows up for families, for communities, for equality, always with warmth, humility, and a steadfast belief that we can do better for each other.
President Biden, we are grateful for your support, your friendship, and your love. You remind us that progress is absolutely possible, that inclusion matters, that love and decency will always prevail. So let's be reminded, Victory. Don't get mad, get elected. Victory, victory, victory. Would you please join me, stand, and give a warm victory welcome to join in solidarity to welcome the 46th President of these United States, President Joe Biden.
I'm not going home. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please sit down. Evan, thank you for your visionary leadership of this organization. And Chris, I'm honored to receive the award in your name. In your name. And I'm accepting this award knowing it's a recognition of all the work we've done. Michael, thank you for your, and especially your thanks to David, who supported the Victory Fund, but supported me long before that all occurred. Folks, I also want to recognize so many friends that are here today. Where's Mo Vella? Mo, where are you? There you go, Mo. You know, we're doing this for a long time, Mo and I've relied on his advice throughout my career, particularly when I was vice president. I knew which direction to go.
And I love you just as much as them.
Thank you. Next week marks 3 years. 3 years since many of us stood on a crisp day in the south lawn of the White House where I signed the Respect for Marriage Act. Folks, as the ceremony came to an end, the sun began to set. Rainbow lights lit up the portico of the White House. You know, the moment had an air of celebration, but also, quite frankly, for me and many of you, I expect, an air of relief. Relief. Finally, through the hard work, faith, counsel, sheer grit of folks like you in this room and so many who came before you, the momentous battle was finally won. Finally. And look, today, though, we know there's much more work to do. And the challenges ahead can feel daunting, particularly in the face of everything we're seeing coming out of this reactionary White House. You know, we're all here today for the same reason. Same reason. It's all because we believe in the power of our democracy to pull the nation together. You know, our worst moments, actually, we're the only country in the world that's gone through every crisis and come out stronger than we went into the crisis. Every time. America's the only country. Also, is founded on an idea. We're unique, not a joke. It's not just, America. It's true. We're the only country founded on an idea. Every other country in the world is founded on geographic boundaries, religion, ethnicity. But we're an idea. A strong idea. It's stronger and more powerful than any dictator or any army. And that in America, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. All deserve to be treated with dignity and throughout their lives. And all of us, each and every one of us, deserves that. That's how I was raised. That's how many of you were raised, I guess, too. We've never lived up to that idea, though. But we've never walked away from it. We've never walked away from it either. And so you've heard me say before that when I was growing up, whenever something bad happened, I used to be a stutterer and people made a lot of fun of you, a lot of other things. My dad would look at me and say, Joey, just get up. Get up, Joey. Get up. Well, folks, that's my message to all of us today. To all who love our country. To all of us who are dismayed by the present state of the Union. This is no time to give up. It's time to get up. Get up and fight back. Get up. Continue to fight. And what's the fight all about? It's not high prayer. It's about protecting the Constitution. It's about protecting the Constitution. Some of you are old enough to remember back in 2012, I went on Meet the Press. Got myself in a bit of trouble. But good trouble. You know, I just couldn't remain silent anymore. We had this whole plan to let things... Anyway. I told the truth. I expressed my support for gay marriage. A little earlier than some folks had been expecting it. Well, that comment got all the attention. I also told another story during that interview. I've been speaking a few weeks earlier, and there was a group of LGBTQ leader in a private home. And during the Q&A period, and I was in that home, a gentleman stood up and said, "Mr. Vice President, let me ask you a question. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about us?" That's the way he said it. I turned to the gay couple who owned the house. I looked at both of them. I said, "What did I do first when I walked in the door of your home?" And they both said, "You walked right up to our 2 children." And I turned to the person asking the question. I said to those children, "I wish every American," I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I wish every American could have seen the love in the eyes of these 2 young boys for their dads. It was palpable. You could feel it. Because if they did see that, they'd never have any doubt about what this is all about. Folks, a lot has gotten lost in all the noise with terms like DEI and being weaponized and people's basic identity turned into political football. Right now, in no small part because of the vitriol of this in our national debate, there are young people sitting alone at home as I speak, literally, behind closed doors, scrolling through social media, staring at the ceiling, literally wondering whether they've talked. You are, and I've talked to many of these young men and women, wondering whether we'll ever be loved, will they ever marry, will they ever have a family, ever truly be accepted for who they are. So my message to young people is this: just be you. Be who you are. You are loved. You're heard, and you increasingly understand you belong. You belong, you belong, you belong. I mean it. Things are changing. Folks, Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans are trying to distort and derail our fight for equality. They're trying to turn it into something scary, something sinister. But folks, it's really not about anything that's all that complicated. At its core, it's about making every American, given the opportunity to be treated with basic decency, dignity, and respect they all deserve. That's what every single American deserves, every American. This administration is trying to use those issues as a wedge to further divide the country. But there's nothing more American than the notion of equality. Nothing, nothing, nothing. And folks, it's a struggle as old as the country's founding. That's why many of us are in this room today. We also know that the fight ahead is about more than equality. It's about opportunity. It's about opportunity. It's about making sure every American has a chance to make a decent living. It's about having equal access to quality health care, make it affordable. It's about, they can pay any rent, send their kids to college, pay for the grocery bills. It's about making sure every American can come home at the end of the day, look their kid in the eye, and say, "Honey, it's going to be okay." It's that basic. It is that basic. You've heard me say before, my dad used to say, it's all about, can you look your child in the eye and say, it's going to be okay. That's what we worked so damn hard to do during my administration. In those 4 years, we created 16 million new jobs. Unemployment dropped. Unemployment dropped to a 50-year low. We lowered the price of everything from health care to cost of college to junk fees and airline tickets and credit cards. We made a lot of progress. We had so much more we had to do to make life affordable for every American. And it's this work that's motivated so many of you to step up, put your name on the ballot, and run for office. LGBT candidates across the country running not only to ensure equality for every American, but also to ensure that every American has access to opportunities they deserve. I want to thank those of you who are willing to put yourself on the line, willing to subject yourself and your families to the public scrutiny and the attacks that sure will come your way in order to make life better for every American. It's going to take character. It's going to take courage. So please join me today in thanking all the candidates elected to office here today, and please stand up, candidates. Stand up. Thank you. Think of what you've done. I know I look like I'm only 40 years old. I know that. I've been doing this job for 51 years. If I made that same comment in this room, and I've spoken in this room that many years ago, made that same comment in this room 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, I've been thrown out of here. Not a joke. Well, when I took office, I promised to have an administration that looked like America. I've kept my promise. And not just for the community, but my press secretary, Kareem. My head personnel, Goodman, is here. I don't know if he's here or not. There you are, man. Stand up. Oh, I see Kareem. There you are. Along with many others who served in my administration. You all worked on issues that went far beyond equality for the LGBTQ community. With your help, we accomplished much, not just in this community, but all across to create opportunity for everybody. My dad, really, all kidding aside, my dad was a really decent, honorable man, a well-read guy. And my dad would say, Joey, everybody deserves a shot, no guarantee, but everybody deserves it. Everybody deserves a shot. So again, please join me in thanking all those who work for my administration and continue to work in government. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me close with this. Sorry I'm taking too long here. I apologize. Folks, America's not a fairy tale. For 250 years, there's been a constant push and pull, an existential struggle between peril and possibility. We're not guaranteed a fairy tale ending, but I believe the America of our dreams is always closer than we think. I know I'm characterized as an eternal optimist, but I am. You know, my friend, Congresswoman Sarah McBride. What a kid. She used to work for my son, Bo, who passed away because of what happened in Iraq. He was Attorney General. She worked for him. And he used to have to protect her, go out of his way. Well, she wanted to be here today, but she's giving an important speech at my alma mater, the University of Delaware. You know, Sarah talks about, quote, doing the hard work of persuasion. And in these times, which can be dispiriting and even hurtful, Sarah says, hope. I'm quoting her, hope is a conscious choice. You have to summon it. You have to summon it. It's not automatic. Friends, we are one of the only countries in the world that time and again has come out of every crisis stronger than we entered into that crisis. I still believe, emerging from the many crises caused by this administration, as we have constantly, nonetheless, come out stronger, wiser, and more resilient than before. But we just have to get up. As long as we keep the faith, summon hope, and get back up and remember who in the hell we are. We're the United States of America. That's who we are. We're the U.S. And there's nothing, I mean it sincerely, there's nothing beyond our capacity in America when we act together. So let's work together. Let's keep this fight going. Let's win it together. Now, not tomorrow, now. Thank you. God bless you all. And may God protect our troops. Sorry it took so long. I'm so damn proud of all of you. No, I really am. I'm proud of your courage. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Every time I'd walk out of my grandfather Finnegan's house in Scranton to yell, Joey, keep the faith. My grandmother, no, Joey, spread it. Let's spread it. Thank you.
Former President Joe Biden there receiving the LGBTQ plus Impact Award, as you see him there. Just speaking for a moment, we do have some other news that we are going to turn to really quickly because we are just getting in reaction from Mayor Harold Copenhaver of Jonesboro in the Parks Director FBI investigation. This video is from earlier today in a Finance and Administration Council Committee. I want to play that for you here. Here is that video. This is from the city of Jonesboro on Facebook. Here is the video.
Friday afternoon, and it's important that obviously you engage yourself on what we're proposing for year 2026. But I first want to start off with a 20,000-pound elephant in the room. And I do have a statement, and then we'll move on to the budget statement. So following a city staff meeting that was had with the Department of Justice, the city is prepared to serve as a trustee for the City Star's financial activities. The Department of Justice expressed no concerns with the protocols in place with the city and the handling of public funds. We do expect to have this as a budget impact, but have no way to predict what that will be until the baseline of that is established. The city continues to work closely with authorities and legislative audit to ensure youth sports continues without issue during this time. Our children are our number one concern. It is my understanding that the City Stars Board has recently voted to work with the city on this transition. We appreciate their help in this matter and their shared efforts in supporting the thousands of youth in our community that enjoy these programs. Won't be any further statement. All right. Council, as we begin for the next year, it's hard to believe 2025 is already
Okay, so again, that is just moments ago in a council meeting there. We are going to continue monitoring that again just moments ago at a Finance and Administration Council meeting, announcing that the city will be taking over the City Stars program for those that live in Jonesboro, Northeast Arkansas, close to Jonesboro. They know what City Stars is. They have soccer, baseball, I believe even softball, just thinking of things off the top of my head, but they're essentially a city-run organization by the Parks Department, and now you're seeing here the city of Jonesboro is going to take that over. Of course, this follows the FBI and DOJ announcing that they are investigating currently Danny Caples, the Parks Director in Jonesboro. He has since been put on administrative leave. The big question, the big elephant that's still in the room, as you heard there Mayor Harold Copenhaver saying, is the fact that we don't know yet what that investigation is about, and that is going to remain a question, though. The breaking news just in, though, Mayor Harold Copenhaver quickly there addressing the elephant in the room, as he called it, about what's going on with the Parks Department, what is next for the Parks Department, and this entire investigation. We are going to keep our eyes on all of this and see where it goes. In the meantime, a live look at the White House here. President Donald Trump earlier today speaking at a FIFA World Cup event at the last draw. We have the video that's just in. That's all coming up here in just a moment. Welcome back into Brooklyn News Live. It is the last day of the week. Oh my gosh, thank goodness, because we have had so many headlines. Brooklyn News has been all over it all. Let's take a look at just a few of the headlines there on your screen. That's one headline. We'll see. 1 second here. I'll see if I can pull them all up at the same time for you guys, because we are following a lot of headlines. There you go on your screen. Right now, there is a lot going on. First, we want to talk about the CDC Advisory Committee voting to remove the hepatitis B shot recommendation. That's all in within the last a few hours or so. They are recommending, they are saying that they kind of want the parents to take it up instead of it be a requirement kind of, instead of it to be a requirement, it would rather be just a recommendation, and parents can choose whether to do that or not. So we're going to keep our eyes on all of these stories you see there on your screen. Plus, the U.S. placed in the favorable FIFA World Cup group. We are going to take a look take a look at video from earlier today where President Donald Trump speaks at that last draw event for the FIFA World Cup. That is coming up here in just a moment. Plus, the Supreme Court approving the Trump-backed Texas redistricting maps. This comes after that has led to lots of chaos and lots of drama. Multiple states deciding, okay, if you're going to do that, we are too. And redistricting to favor Republican in the housing districts in their states. California doing a similar thing in the Democratic favor, possibly allowing them to gain 5 more Democratic seats. It's just caused a lot of political chaos in the two parties going at each other for each of them, because it's not just California and Texas, it's other states like Indiana, etc. going on. So we're going to follow that. Plus, some news in overnight. The grand jury in New York rejecting to indict Letitia James for the second time. This comes after a grand jury saw some information about mortgage fraud and things of that nature. Again, indicted, the indictment rejected by the grand jury for the second time. And Brookland Public Schools is asking for a millage increase as the district growth is continuing. In a statement released by George Kennedy, the superintendent there, he's saying that it will be used for a number of different things. We're going to dive further into that story later in the hour. That's just a look at a few of the headlines we're following right now. And as we promised you before the break, we are going to go to some video in from earlier today where President Donald Trump spoke at an event for the FIFA World Cup final draw that was a little bit earlier here. We will take you there. Right now, this is earlier today. President Donald Trump here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this is your prize. This is your Peace Prize. There is also a medal for you that you can wear everywhere you want to go.
Right now.
Okay, let me hold. Fantastic. Excellent. And you will receive also, of course, a certificate which reads out, and I would read it out with your permission, what are the reasons for you receiving this FIFA Peace Prize. Football unites the world. So the FIFA Peace Prize annually, on behalf of the billions of football-loving people from around the world, to a distinguished individual who exemplifies an unwavering commitment to advancing peace and unity throughout the world through their notable leadership and action. And therefore, FIFA, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, awards the 2025 FIFA Peace Prize, Football Unites the World, to Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, in recognition of his exceptional and extraordinary actions to promote peace and unity around the world. Friday, December 5th, 2025. This is the certificate. It's yours. Before giving you the floor, Mr. President, if I may say two words. Like everyone here in the room, we see images of war all over the world. And like everyone, we suffer for every child that dies. We cry with every mother that loses someone she loves. And we want to see hope. We want to see unity. We want to see a future. And I was lucky, Mr. President, to witness a few years ago, the Abraham Accord signatures. A few months ago, in Sharm el-Sheikh, the peace in the Middle East agreement regarding Gaza. I was in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur for the peace between Cambodia and Thailand. Yesterday, here in Washington, the Washington Peace Agreement between Rwanda and DRC. Well, this is what we want from a leader that cares about the people. We want to live in a safe world, in a safe environment. We want to unite. That's what we do here today. That's what we'll do at the World Cup, Mr. President. And you definitely deserve the first FIFA Peace Prize for your action, for what you have obtained in your way, but you obtained it in an incredible way. And you can always count, Mr. President, on my support, on the support of the entire football community or soccer community to help you make peace and make the world prosper all over the world. Thank you very much, Mr. President. The floor is all yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This is truly one of the great honors of my life. And beyond awards, John and I were discussing this. We saved millions and millions of lives. The Congo is an example. Over 10 million people killed, and it was heading for another 10 million very quickly. And it just, you know, the fact that we could do that, India, Pakistan, so many different wars that we're able to end, in some cases a little bit before they started, just right before they started. It was going to be late, but we got them done. And it's such an honor to be with Johnny. I've known Johnny for so long. He's done such an incredible job. And I have to tell you, you've set new records on ticket sales. And not to bring that up, because we don't want to bring a thing like that up right now, but it's an awful you and to the game of football, or as we call it, soccer, but football. And that is an amazing thing. The numbers are beyond any numbers that anybody, even beyond what Johnny thought was. I want to thank, by the way, my family, my great First Lady, Melania. You're right here, and thank you very much. An event the likes of which maybe the world has never seen. Based on the enthusiasm that I've seen, I have never seen anything like it. We've had a tremendous relationship, working relationship with Canada. We have our Prime Minister of Canada there, and we have our President of Mexico. And we've worked closely with those two countries, and the coordination and friendship and relationship has been outstanding. And I want to thank you both very much, and your countries very much. But most importantly, I just want to thank everybody. The world is a safer place now. The United States 1 year ago was not doing too well. And now I have to say we're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and we're going to keep it that way. Thank you all. Thank you. Have a great time. And Johnny, a tremendous honor. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, President Donald Trump earlier today in a shortened speech after he received the Peace Prize there from FIFA. The last straw is up next. The president also participating in that. These are like two separate different events here, so we're going to play them out in just a moment. But first, a quick commercial break. Brooklyn News Live returns here in just a moment. And welcome back into this last day of the week, Friday edition of Brooklyn News Live. In case you missed it, I'm Jackson Mitchell. It is good to be with you. We do have a lot to talk about, but we are first going to continue our coverage because President Donald Trump participated in the FIFA World Cup last draw earlier today, really in the afternoon this morning of today. The FIFA World Cup 2026 is expected to be held across 11 cities in the United States, along with host cities in Canada and Mexico. The tournament is scheduled to be held in Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Bay Area, and Seattle. The U.S. portion of the tournament will begin with the U.S. men's national team's first match on Friday of June 12th. That's in 2026. That's in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. The U.S. MNT will play their other group stage games in Los Angeles and Seattle. The final matches of the tournament are expected to be held at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. So a big event coming to the United States. We've heard the president in past remarks that he's made hyping this all up. listen into him as he participates in the final draw just earlier this morning.
Yeah, you can go behind. Behind, yes. Y ahora la presidenta de México, Claudia Sheinbaum. Buenas noches. Por favor, al lado del presidente. And now, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Mr. Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, this way, this way. Oh, this way. Well, you can do what you want. This is your place. Okay. So this is the World Cup trophy. This is for the World Cup. And we are now going to do the draw, ladies and gentlemen. But before that, as is customary, there is always a question that the moderator asks the draw assistant. So I would like to start with Mr. Carney. How big a deal is it to co-host the World Cup for Canada? I know, but...
It is the biggest of deals, Gianni. You know, it's the #1 sport for Canadian boys and girls. 2/3 of the country watched the last World Cup. And we are partnered with the United States and Mexico, welcoming the world. There's more than 200 nationalities in Canada, more than 200 nationalities in FIFA. The top 48 are coming to North America. It is going to be the biggest deal ever.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Presidenta Sheinbaum, la Copa Mundial de la FIFA 2026 será el evento deportivo más grande de la historia y México hará historia al convertirse en el único país en albergar 3 ediciones del torneo. ¿Qué significado tiene esto y los mexicanos?
Bueno, estamos orgullosos. La Copa Mundial. México es un país extraordinario, bello, mágico, y millones visitarán nuestra nación. Además, quiero decirles que tenemos un pueblo extraordinario, trabajador y algo especial. Nosotros disfrutamos del juego de pelota desde tiempos ancestrales.
Fenomenal. Gracias. Mr. President, President Trump, next summer is historic for the United States in more than one way. What does it mean to you that the FIFA World Cup is actually taking place in the United States 250th birthday? Special.
Well, for years, Johnny, they've thought soccer or football would be so big, so fast. And I remember, I shouldn't say this because it was a long time ago, but I remember watching Pelé play on a team. Pelé, who was fantastic, as you know, I assume one of the greats.
Oh, yes.
And,
Pelé. Let's applaud Pelé, please. One of the greatest.
And he scored 3 goals out there. I said, that man can play. I was pretty young at that point, and who knew this was going to happen? But when you look at what has happened to football in the United States, again, soccer in the United States, we seem to never call it that because we have a little bit of a conflict with another thing that's called football. But when you think about it, shouldn't it really be called? I mean, this is football. There's no question about it. We have to come up with another name for the NFL stuff.
Yeah.
It really doesn't make sense when you think about it. It is really football. But who would have thought it would have come to a level where you've set your all-time season ticket ratings? Nobody's ever sold as many tickets, and you're still a long way from that ball being kicked down the field. So I just want to congratulate you. What an incredible leap this has been, and congratulations to FIFA.
Thank you. Thank you, President. Big round of applause, and the best is still to come, of course. So let's start with the draw. I will just show you how it works. I've done a few of them. Don't be scared, right? So you have to basically mingle the balls a little bit. You can see, I show this for the public, you see. Mingle. And then, one by one, we start with Mr. Carney. You pick one. Wait. Wait. You open it. You see there is a little paper inside. You take out the paper, these two things, you can throw them in here. And then you can show to the public what you have drawn, which for me is FIFA, of course. I'm just the moderator. Mr. Carney, do you want to start? I'm ready. Don't forget, and pick the right ball, please. Already chosen. Okay, let's see which team will be drawn by Mr. Mark Carney. Oh, Canada! Oh, congratulations. Canada, ladies and gentlemen, the first team drawn in this Group B1 for Canada, by the way. We can continue. Por favor, podemos... Vamos a ver el sorteo más importante del mundo. Y vamos a ver cuál el equipo.
¡Viva México!
¡México! ¡México! Felicidades. México, Grupo A1, Presidenta. Grupo A1 por México. Muchas felicidades. President Trump, up to you. Don't forget to mingle, to mix.
I think I know what this is going to be now.
Everything.
But let's see.
Are you sure? Are you sure this is the ball? You can still change it if you want.
Does he know something that I don't know? Let's give it a shot.
Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. I agree. Okay.
This is shocking.
United States of America. Excellent. Group D1. Can I ask all the three of you to lift like this on your chest, in front of your chest like this? Yeah, the name of the country. We'll give a nice photo. Excellent. And if I can ask you to come in front here for another photo with the paper, con el papelito, por favor. There, here where you can see the, voila, here for another photo so that everyone can see what you have drawn. Here we are. Thank you very much. Well done, congratulations, great assistance. If I may take a selfie with the three of you. Come. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Okay, that event over at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. there. U.S., Canada, and Mexico countries' leaders, they're taking a part in the FIFA World Cup final draw. They'll all three be countries hosting the FIFA World Cup. The U.S. going to be a big player in all of this. We will continue to keep our eye on what happens there at the FIFA World Cup. Do want to turn to some other news. HBO Max to join Netflix in this landmark streaming merger. I want to read a report from ABC News. Maybe. There we go. Take a look there on your screen. I'll read a piece of it here. It says Netflix has announced that it has entered a, quote, definitive agreement to acquire Warner Bros., including its film and television studios, HBO Max and HBO, in a deal valued at approximately $83 billion, according to the company. Quote, the acquisition brings together two pioneering entertainment businesses, combining Netflix's innovation, global reach, and best-in-class streaming service with Warner Bros.' centuries-long legacy of world-class storytelling, Netflix said in a statement released Friday morning. Beloved franchises, shows, and movies such as The Big Bang Theory, The Sopranos, The Game of Thrones, The Wizard of Oz, and DC Universe will join Netflix's extensive portfolio, including Wednesday, Money Heist, Bridgerton, Adolescence, and Extraction, creating an extraordinary entertainment offering for audiences worldwide. The company continued. The transaction is expected to close at the previously announced separation of WBD's global networks division, Discovery Global in a new publicly traded company, which is now expected to be completed in Q3 of 2026, Netflix said. The crash and stock transaction has a total enterprise value of approximately 82.7 billion and an equity value of 72 billion. Wow. I mean, lots of money involved here in this merger. It is going to be something to watch here. It's also going to be something to watch because this is my question. I'm like a technical kind of person. So I'm asking, is Netflix going to take this and are they going to put all the movies, all the shows that are on HBO Max onto Netflix? Or are we going to see kind of keep the name, we'll keep the name, keep the separate app, separate program. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's a lot of technical stuff that I have questions about, like how it's all going to work when it comes to this merging. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Trust, we're going to keep you guys updated on that. But again, that big merger by Netflix and HBO Max to come. A quick break. Brooklyn News Live returns here in just a moment. And welcome back into Brooklyn News Live here as we approach we've actually are past the top of the hour now. It's 3:05 p.m. here Central Time. We're tracking tons of headlines. That includes this one from the White House. Within the last few moments, we are learning Trump calls for tiny cars to be built in the United States. In a new Truth Social post, let's take a look at that now here. Again, this big news just in, Trump calling for tiny cars to be built in the US. Here is that Truth Social post again from just moments ago. Trump says, quote, "I've just approved tiny cars to be built in America. Manufacturers have long wanted to do this, just like they are so successfully built in other countries. They can be propelled by gasoline, electric, or hybrid. These cars of the very near future are inexpensive, safe, fuel efficient, and quite simply amazing. Start building them now. Thank you to the DOJ and the Department of Transportation and Environment. Enjoy." President Donald J. Trump. Again, Trump calling for tiny cars to be built in the U.S. This comes after he recently made an announcement on federal fuel standards and like the cafe regulations about mileage on vehicles. We've done a segment on that, of course. You can go to visit our YouTube page and watch that one. Now, we are going to continue to monitor all of the stories happening from Capitol Hill right there to over at the White House right there. A lot going on, a lot to follow. Brooklyn News Live is going to sneak in a quick another break here. We're back in a moment. Welcome back into Brooklyn News Live here. 3:10 now as the time continues to tick here on this last day of the week, Friday. We are going to take you to an event and a story that we've been following now for quite some time in Minneapolis. ICE has been told to go there by the Trump administration. People are saying they're attacking the Somali community and Somali citizens in Minneapolis. We've been following this story all week, press conferences, events, and covering Trump's comments on Somali citizens. We will continue to do that. Let's listen in here to this event.
send you. Okay, sounds good. Okay, sounds good.
Great, thanks.
All right, for our speakers, just make sure to when you speak, just share your name and then spell it out for the media. Thank you. All right. You guys ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Khalid Omar, spelled as Khalid, and then last name is Omar, Omar. I'm an organizer with Isaiah and Faith in Minnesota. So we're here with our neighbors today to...
We have it louder, please. We can't hear you back here.
Oh, okay.
We're here with our neighbors.
Yeah, we're here today. Yeah, I'll let you. Check. Tech issues. Okay. Sorry, we're having some technical issues, but it's okay. We're Minnesotans. We figure things out.
We're going to be 2 minutes early, so now we'll be on time.
Oh, now we'll be on time. That's good.
Okay. I'll give you guys some context on what you're watching here. As we watch them here, they're continuing to look like fix some technical difficulties that they are experiencing there. So we'll wait till the speakers begin speaking. Maybe it's work. Okay, we'll see if that mic gets to working for them. This is moments ago from KMSP. We'll continue talking just a little bit about what this is all about. Okay, never mind. Looks like it's starting. Let's listen back in.
Spelled as Khalid, and my last name is Omar, Omar. Today we're in community, and in our community there's a saying: when the spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. This moment requires unity. It requires, because what's happening to our Somali Americans in Minnesota is unacceptable, un-American, and is extremely dangerous. Over the last few days, our community has been terrorized by ICE agents and federal officers who have come into our neighborhoods and our workplaces and questioned people with citizens, who have a citizen, who have U.S. passports. And today I just came back from our Friday prayer. And a lot of the community, what they're experiencing today is fear. But our message to our community and to all Minnesotans is very clear. We are greater than fear. We are greater than fear. We heard one case last night, actually, where 4 Somali Americans who were having lunch, who were just mingling together, who finished a conversation. And right after that conversation, as they were leaving the restaurant, they were approached by ICE agents and federal officers. And they were questioned. All 4 of them were U.S. citizens. And they were questioned of if they have their passport or if they have their citizenship. That is shame. That is shame, and that is un-American. And there's no American that should be questioned whether they have a citizenship or their passport here in our state, and we reject that at all times. In history, and also in our books of literature, we hear that when an authoritarian government wants to control, they weaponize the state and government to intimidate entire communities. And this is what we see from our president, an authoritarian who wants to hurt and create cruelty for communities across our country. And in Minnesota and across our country, we reject that. And here in Minnesota, we know who we are. Is that right? And we know who our neighbors are. Is that right? Somali Americans are part of this fabric. They are our educators. They are our doctors. And they are our children who are going to these public schools, and we don't accept anyone to tell us we're not Americans because we know who we are. Is that right? We are Americans and we don't accept that. And here in Minnesota, we care for one another. And when one of us gets stuck in the snow, what do? We push them out and we get them out of the snow. That's what we do in Minnesota. And also in Minnesota, we're also Vikings fans too. Even when they're having the most difficult times. Because what we know as Minnesotans, just as we stand up for the Vikings, we stand up for our neighbors. Our country is at a moment in history right now. We're at a moment where we have to decide who we are as a country. And here in Minnesota and here in this room, we are deciding that we are here for our neighbors and we are here for all Americans. And today we have with us clergy, neighbors, elected officials, and we'll be having a few of our elected officials and also our pastors and our clergy who will be saying some few remarks. With that, I want to welcome our first speaker, the director of this mosque, Brother Ali Hassan, to say a few words. Please help me welcome Brother Ali Hassan.
Thank you for everyone for being here. My name is Ali Muhammad, the first name A-L-I, last name O-H-A-M-E-D. Thank you for coming here. What Trump said is a bigotry, racism, Islamophobia. The words of Trump, President Trump, cannot divide us. We are united. We are more stronger than that. So please, thank you for your support. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much. And our next speaker is Pastor Maria Lippert. Please help me welcome her.
My name is Maria Anderson Lippert, M-A-R-I-A, and then Anderson, A-N-D-E-R-S-O-N hyphen L-I-P-P-E-R-T. Sorry, I know it's long. I am a pastor in the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, serving University Lutheran Church of Hope, two more long names for you, in Minneapolis. However, we are gathering right now in the neighborhood in which I live and where I call home. When my husband and I moved to Bloomington in 2018, we were glad to learn of the number of mosques that were walking distance from our house. We live 6 blocks south of Dar al-Farouk and about a mile directly west of here. We intentionally chose to live in this community with our Somali neighbors because our differences and our diversity make our community stronger, more resilient, more loving, and the best place, and I mean that, the best place to raise our children. People who are Somali have been a part of my midwifery team when I had my kids. They provided care for my church members and still do when they're in the hospital or in the nursing home. And we are quite literally neighbors. We watch our children ride bikes together around the library parking lot on summer nights after it's closed for the evening. And we are literally in early childhood classrooms together. And we drop off and pick up our kids for school together every day. In fact, I'm going to go do that in about a half an hour. A couple of months ago, I gathered with some of you here at Dar al-Farouk after an arson event in our community, and I shared the quote from Mother Teresa that says, "If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten we belong to each other." And I've continued to think about this sentiment as I have been joining with my faith leader colleagues and friends from various faith traditions in the past few days. And I've realized that while the president is trying to turn us against each other, we are not allowing him to do so, right? And while it is a very scary time and the threats in our communities are real, we together do have peace because we have not forgotten that we belong to each other. That's right. I look around this room and I see friends and I see neighbors. My promise to you, my Somali neighbors, is that we will not forget. We are with you. My congregation and community is with you because that is what our Christian faith demands of us. We belong to each other, and we are not going to let racist language or ICE or anything else cause us to forget that. We have peace, and together we are greater than fear. Thank you for being my community.
Thank you so much, Pastor. Our next speaker will be Senator Erin Murphy.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Erin Murphy, Erin Murphy, and I'm the proud Senate Majority Leader. I'm also an Irish American, and I'm proud to stand here today with my colleagues, so many, who are joining me today. And as a human, and as a Minnesotan, and as American, we are Americans together. And I don't believe that we should have to, one more time, remind each other of the fundamentals of what it means to be an American. But the person who is the current president is weak, and I think he's afraid, and he's using the tools he has used repeatedly since he has decided to run for office to bait us, to divide us, to make us fearful. And there are reasons right now that people in our human community are afraid, because he's sending people into harm's way. And that, from my perspective, is unforgivable. It is inexcusable and unforgivable, and as we like to say, it is un-American, and it is. And there are many days now when I read the news and my heart is broken one more time by the actions of this president and his Republican colleagues in Congress. But then I remember who I am a part of, the community that says we belong to each other. We look out for each other. We are each other's keeper. And I dust myself off like everybody else and say, what good will I do today? Today, my colleagues in the Senate, the Democrats, sent a letter to our Republican colleagues in the House and the Senate, asking them, inviting them to join us in denouncing the language and actions of this president. And we did that not as partisans, but as proud Americans standing up for the ideals of this country. It is a long haul between now and when this presidency ends, and we will have to stand together day after day after day. And I want you to know that I recognize that I'm not in harm's way right now, but if I am, I will stand with you. And that we have to look out for each other to make sure that the America that we believe in is strong, open, brave, courageous, welcoming America is the America of our future. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Senator Erin Murphy. Now I'll have Imam Assad, the Executive Director of Muslim American Society of Minnesota. Please help me welcome him.
Assalamu alaikum, greetings of peace. I want to begin by sharing a personal reflection. I am an immigrant. I am what I call an American by choice. I chose to come to this country because it was the shining city on the hill. It was the country of freedom. When I was in high school, I heard stories about how in the Soviet Union, a country supposedly formed for the freedom of people, that citizens of the Soviet Union had to carry passports to walk around in their own country. And I come from Bangladesh, where that was not the norm. Like, Bangladeshis don't walk around with passports. And so I chose to come to the country of freedom. I chose to come to America. And I chose America, and America chose me. I took my citizenship. I came here in 1992. When Trump got elected, I ordered and started carrying a passport card in my wallet. And today it broke my heart that in my sermon, among the advice I gave to my people is that if you are a citizen, carry your passport or your passport card with you. It saddened me to say that, but too many of my people have been kidnapped in broad daylight, and this is one way of helping some of them not get disappeared. This is a sad day for America, when citizens are feeling the need to carry passports on their person just so they can walk around, just so they can worship, just so they can go to the grocery store, just so they can pick up their kids from daycare. We urge all elected officials to reject this type of divisive and hateful rhetoric. This is not making America great. This is not helping. We urge the president to walk away, to step away from the language of hate. You are supposed to be the president of all of America. And you actually need to do your job.
That's right. That's right.
It is your job to protect and defend all of us. And we urge all elected officials to also not fall for this language of divisiveness and hate. That is not going to make Minnesota a better place. And also I want to say this to the elected officials, to those who are here and those who are not here. This is un-Minnesotan, and Minnesotans will reject you.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
This here is not the kingdom of Trump.
That's right.
In this nation, we have this magical thing called elections.
Yes.
And we want elected officials to understand that when you step out of line, when the values you keep espousing are contrary to the values of the vast majority of Minnesota, you will be rejected.
That's right. That's right.
To our allies, to the Muslim community, to the Somali community who are being subjected to this fear campaign, I urge you, do not be afraid. We are greater than fear.
That's right.
And we have banded together a large coalition, 30 mosques, 200 churches, 200 daycare centers, 150 barbershops.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
We have allies. We're going to watch out and protect each other.
That's right.
And we are doing this event on December 13th.
Yeah.
Where we will come together and shape our own political destiny of how we can build a multicultural, multiracial Minnesota that actually works for everybody.
Right. Yeah.
I urge you to join this inclusion movement, this inclusive movement. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Imam Assad. And now, please help me welcome Reverend Diane.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Diana McLean, DIANA-MC-Lean, and I serve as minister of the Minnesota Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship here in Bloomington. One of the foundational beliefs of Unitarian Universalism is the inherent worthiness and dignity of every person. Every person, no exceptions. It does not matter what your race, religion, or immigration status is, you are sacred just as you are.
Yes. Yeah.
No human is garbage, despite the appalling rhetoric of the president.
That's right.
When the President of the United States uses hateful language about our Somali American neighbors, my faith calls me to respond with love, with a clear message that our Somali American neighbors are beloved members of our community, and that their lives, your lives, are every bit as important as anyone else's. As a Minnesotan, I value the Somali Americans in our community. Small business owners, teachers, healthcare providers, and elected officials serving our community and our state. They make our community richer. They make it stronger. Attacks on them are against not only my faith, but my values as a human being, a Minnesotan, and a United States citizen.
That's right.
Yesterday, I heard local Minnesota musician Ann Reed sing her song, Love This Life, which includes the lyrics, "For every hateful word, I'll say 10 loving verbs to mend this tattered flag of mine." I invite us to be among those who will say words of love and do acts of love to outweigh the hateful words and actions taking place. Let us reject messages and attitudes of fear and hate, messages that strive to divide us rather than unite us. Let us respond from our shared values as Minnesotans, regardless of our faith.
Alrighty, you are continuing to listen in there to an event from just moments ago, a community event there in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where officials there, state and local officials, and just people of the Somali community are addressing the impact of the recent ICE deployment. We are going to continue monitoring that event and bring you back to it right after this 2-minute break. We're back here in just a moment. Welcome back into Brooklyn News Live on this Friday, 3:35 p.m. now as we continue to monitor what's going on over at the White House. President Trump, of course, earlier today participating in the World Cup last draw. We played it live here for you just a little earlier. We are going to go back to this event over in Minneapolis, though, where they are talking about the effects on the Somali community and the ICE deployment. Let's listen back in.
President of the United States of America. Our next speaker, please help me welcome Mayor St. Paul Mayor-elect Her.
Good afternoon. You know, what has been happening across our country and our city weighs so heavily on my own heart because I came to this country as a refugee. And I became naturalized as a citizen when I was in middle school, and my parents became American citizen. And we took that oath very seriously. And throughout my time being in this country and loving this country and calling this country home, I have watched communities, families get torn apart. I started going to ICE check-ins with people with removal orders back in May of this past year already, and watching how he has systematically targeted our immigrant and refugee communities. That he came after my Southeast Asian community back in June and July. Then we saw him move on to other communities, the Karen community, and now our Somali brothers and sisters. So Trump is once again weaponizing the federal government to attack a community that is central to our city's identity. I will not allow St. Paul to be used to indiscriminately advance his divisive and hateful agenda against the immigrant community under the guise of legal proceedings. To the Somali community, this news is scary. I will always be in your corner, and that support will never be undermined. I want you here, and you belong here. That's right. I will stand with our community advocates and fight for our Somali, Karen, Southeast Asian, immigrants and refugees everywhere from all communities that this administration is targeting. St. Paul will not be a partner, silent or otherwise, to these attacks. I stand with you, and I will always be with you. Thank you. All right.
Thank you so much. One thing that I forgot earlier to share was that yesterday a mother was sharing with me that her children were asking her, "Mom, do we have to carry our passport and our citizenship to school?" You know who's really terrorizing our community? It is our president who's terrorizing our community, who's putting fear in those children and families across. That is shame. What is that? Shame. So with that, I want to welcome our next speaker, Senator Wickland.
Thank you. My name is Melissa Wickland. It's W-I-K-L-U-N-D. I am the state senator, and I have the privilege and honor of representing this part of Bloomington in the Minnesota Senate. And I am so happy to be here today to stand in solidarity with my neighbors, my Somali Minnesotan neighbors, all of my neighbors in Bloomington, Richfield, and Minneapolis, and share that we will not be made afraid of these actions, and we will stand up for our neighbors and be there for them in their time of need. It is just should go without saying that families and children should not have fear when they go to school about things that our president of our United States says about people. They shouldn't feel fear. They shouldn't feel afraid. They should be free to belong, just as all the students in the schools. So I am very concerned about how things are going, but I am heartened by the support that we see in our neighborhoods, and I see it across Bloomington. I'm very appreciative of the support that my neighbors are showing, and I will continue to stand up and show that we are better than this. I'm proud to be a citizen of Bloomington. I'm proud to be a Minnesotan, and I'm proud to be a Minnesotan with Somali American neighbors as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Wickland. Please help me welcome Senator Zainab Mohammed.
Thank you,
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. It is wonderful to be here with all of you, and thank you to our neighbors for showing up. This is what Minnesota looks like.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And I think what we've learned the last few days, weeks, the last long 10 months is that Donald Trump wants us to hate our neighbors. Yeah. And in Minnesota, we're showing absolutely not.
That's right.
We will not be divided.
Right.
We are not afraid of each other. And we are not afraid of Donald Trump.
No.
We are not afraid of Donald Trump.
No. He's a bully.
That's right.
That's right.
And speaking of bully, Somali Americans make up about less than 90,000 here in Minnesota. And across the country, less than 200,000. This is a tiny, tiny community. And this is the most powerful man in the world who's choosing his next target. Yeah. It starts with us, but it will not end with us.
That's right.
This is political theater, and it's a waste of taxpayer money.
That's
So
right.
what we know over the last 3 days since they've been here, is this. They've deployed hundreds of agents, not just in the Twin Cities, but across the state of Minnesota.
No.
Because Somalis don't just live in Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Yeah.
We live in rural America.
Yeah.
We are your farmers.
Yeah.
We live in the suburbs. We live in the Twin Cities. This is our home. And they've only picked up 12 people. Out of those, only 5 are Somali. It is what we have always said. The target is not us. Because we are American citizens. We are naturalized citizens. Norwegians have been here 6, 7 generations. Somali Minnesotans have been here 2, 3 generations.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is home.
Right.
This is their home.
Yeah. Right.
And so thank you for being here. And thank you for showing up the last few days. What we are telling our community is carry your passports. My mother called me the other night because my older brother is a truck driver. And he is a United States citizen like everybody else, and she's like, he needs to carry his passport. You need to tell him. And so I'm telling my family, I'm telling my friends, I'm telling my community to carry their passports, because what we are dealing with is not law enforcement that wants to carry out immigration policies. They are not here to enforce laws in this state. They are here to be bullies.
That's right.
They are showing up with unmarked cars. Yes. They are not identifying themselves. They are not. They don't have any judicial thing to show why they're here. They are bullies. They are thugs.
Yeah.
Thugs are not allowed in our community.
Right.
They're thugs. And Somali Minnesotans are powerful. We are the economic engine of this state. Minnesota would not be able to survive, let alone thrive without us.
Yeah.
And I know right-wing media has been picking that up, so eat that up again. Anyway, thank you for being here. We are all in this together, but just remember, this is not a fight with Somali people. This is a fight against all of our communities. And it's important that we stick together, because united, we are so much more stronger.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Senator Zainab Mohammed. Now I want to welcome Representative Nathan Coulter.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Representative Nathan Coulter, C-O-U-L-T-E-R. I serve District 51B, which is basically the eastern half of the city of Bloomington in the Minnesota House. And I am, as you can probably tell, recovering from a cold, so my voice is a little bit weak, but I want my point to be extremely clear. What that president said was racist and vile, but more importantly, it is a lie.
That's
and
right.
we all know it is a lie.
That's right.
Our Somali neighbors make our state better and stronger.
Yes.
More importantly, though, we need to be very clear that what the president said was harmful and deeply dangerous.
Yeah.
We are not so far removed from rhetoric exactly like that, inspiring someone to drive from a different state to bomb a church and school right here in Bloomington.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are better than that. as Minnesotans, and that's why we are here. And I think, for me, at this time of year, the saddest irony of all of this is that folks of my own faith tradition are preparing to celebrate Christmas, which is at its heart a story of a family of political migrants fleeing a would-be despot.
That's right.
That is not who we are. We will stand together. I am so proud to be a lifelong resident of Bloomington and a lifelong resident of Minnesota. I am so proud to be here with my neighbors and to call this wonderful, incredible group of people my neighbors. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. So, to close this press conference, I just want to say one thing. We know that this is a distraction.
Alrighty, you've been listening again to a quite lengthy press conference now at a community event being held there in Minneapolis as they address the ICE deployment and its impact on Somali immigrants and residents there. We have a lot to talk about still. It's been a busy news day, of course. We do want to turn, though, to just to provide the other side of the story here, what President Trump is saying. This about Somali immigrants. This is the president. This is going to be him on Wednesday. Take a listen.
Ripped off that state for billions of dollars. Billions. Every year. Billions of dollars. And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
President Donald Trump there reacting to a question about Somalis being in this country, and that's why we've been following this so closely, because those are the remarks President Trump is making. Clearly, of course, going to fire up people on the Somali, fire up communities that have a lot of Somali citizens, and that's what we're seeing here. So this is going to be a story that we are going to continue to follow. He calls them garbage, and we don't want to accept garbage in this country, and that's why we have been so closely following this. A quick break, more to come right here on Brookland News Live. a live look at the White House there. Welcome back into Brooklyn News Live. We're about to approach the top of the 4 o'clock hour. In the meantime, we have some more video from earlier today that we want to show you, but first a little bit of context before we do show you this. Earlier today, a lawyer Tony Busby calling for the Texas Rangers to investigate the death of Brianna Aguilera. She's the Texas A&M student. I don't believe we've covered it yet here on Brooklyn News Live, but it has been a big story in Texas. She was a Texas A&M student found dead on a sidewalk there on campus. The Austin police later saying she was it was a death by suicide caused by herself. Busby and Aguilera's mother are disputing the police department's ruling of suicide, citing a lack of thorough investigation, and are calling for the removal of the lead detective. They held a press conference earlier today. Let's listen in.
Within hours of this tragedy, that this was a suicide without any investigation. This family had a horrible tragedy, and the communication from the Austin Police Department was so bad that the family became concerned enough to engage me and my colleagues at Gamez Law. And they also asked the public for help. With proper communication, this matter would be treated like most investigations, where no information is shared until actually after the investigation is complete. But what did we see yesterday? What we saw yesterday was a hurried, rushed press conference. And I think we all can agree the reason they had a press conference yesterday is because they knew that we were going to have this conference today. They gave the family no notice of the press conference. They sent 2 emails, and then the detective went on camera in front of millions of people and told everybody that this young lady committed suicide. Ironically, the same thing he told Stephanie, the mother, within a few minutes of talking to her, without any investigation. That's not the way it's supposed to be done. The family had dared to ask questions about what was going on and what had been learned by the investigation, was then punished with leaks to millions of people from the Austin Police Department, to the detriment of their daughter and to their daughter's memory. So we were hired to assist this family in finding the truth, and we've been doing that. But everyone knows that investigations are supposed to remain confidential until the investigation is complete. And why is that? That's because you don't want to tamper with potential witnesses or scare off witnesses or create a false narrative or color witnesses' interpretation of the facts. Everything that detective did yesterday, that's exactly what he did. Do you realize that the autopsy has not been completed? Now, I want you to let that soak in for a minute. The autopsy has not been completed. The medical examiner's office told us that it will not be completed for 60 to 90 days, yet you had the so-called lead detective in front of millions of people saying that he had concluded that this was a suicide. Now, how unprofessional is that? The police department asked the medical examiner to do a toxicology report. We don't have the results of that toxicology report, yet this investigator stood in front of all of you and said that he had concluded this was a suicide, even though by law he doesn't have the authority to make that conclusion. Only the medical examiner has that authority. The police department also asked for a rape kit to be done. They admitted to us yesterday in a Zoom call that, well, if they do the rape kit, we don't even know where they're going to send it to. This is what we're dealing with, and that's the reason we're involved. It's like the Keystone Cops over there in Austin. And it's incredibly frustrating to this family. Why would the Austin Police Department hurriedly perform or set up a press conference and leak details of the investigation and suggest to you that there was a suicide note without the medical examiner ever even performing their job? Why would they do that? Now, what he told us, I'll tell you what the investigator told us. He said, oh my goodness gracious, the witnesses are getting death threats. I said, from whom? Why? No answer, because it's foolishness, absolute foolishness. And it's that kind of conduct that caused the family to try to find somebody separate from the Austin Police Department to investigate this. We don't have a toxicology report. We don't have a rape report. We don't have a cause of death. And none of those things, don't put that on top of that. None of those are conclusions that a police detective, a corporal, can make. He doesn't have the statutory authority to determine the cause of death. And I'm surprised that none of you even asked that question. He gave you an opportunity to ask questions. Not one of you said, hey, wait a minute, detective. When did the state of Texas give you the legislative authority to determine cause of death? I thought only either a JP, if there's no medical examiner, or a medical examiner could do that. Is that what the medical examiner has done? He would have said to you, no, actually, the medical examiner hasn't even completed his autopsy. But none of you asked that question. You just bought everything that he said, hook, line, and sinker. And then you published your most of the things that I saw on Instagram and the newspaper were cause of death determined. Young lady committed suicide. That's irresponsible. That's irresponsible. You should not do that. You should say, wait a minute, detective. How many times have you been written up and reprimanded? Detective. Wait a minute, when did you have the statutory authority, detective, to determine cause of death? Detective. That's your job. Now it's my job. The public dissemination of information by the Austin Police Department during an investigation, the way it was done yesterday, is unethical, unprofessional, and incredibly damaging to an objective, unbiased investigation. And it's also damaging to the memory of this child. All this family is asking for is a thorough, complete, unbiased, open-minded investigation. That's all they're asking for. That's what any parent would ask for whose child went to college, went to a game, lost her for several hours, and then find out hours and hours later that she supposedly jumped off a balcony. And with just a few questions, a few pointed questions, quickly figure out that these investigators, this so-called investigator, did not know what he was talking about. We're going to get into that. You can't close a case before you even have the cause of death from the medical examiner. Period. Full stop. You don't have that right. You don't have that authority. We have to get this right. This is not just for this family. This is for any family. You have to get this right. You can't close a book in the middle of reading a chapter and say that that's closed and it's over. That's not how it works. You can't misclassify a death like this. When you misclassify a death, you're planting a lie in the soil where truth should grow. And as I said, to her credit, Stephanie Rodriguez was very close to her daughter, very close. Talked to her daily. Knew everything that she was up to, everything that she was doing. The very first interaction she had with the detective from the Austin Police Department, he told her, your daughter committed suicide. The very first reaction, the very first interaction. At that point, he hadn't talked to one witness, he hadn't seen her phone, he hadn't done anything. That's sloppy and irresponsible. He claims she made suicidal comments. He told us in the Zoom call she made suicidal comments. You know what he was talking about? The other day, when I was talking to a friend the other day, I said, man, you're going to make me jump off a bridge. That's what he's talking about. Silliness like that. He later claimed she was making those kinds of statements on the day or the night that she died. If that's the case, why did their friends leave her out on the balcony by herself? If that's true, because it's not true. None of the things that we've been told by the Austin Police Department are consistent with the actual facts that we've learned. The detective was talking about suicide before he was ever given her phone. Then he gets into her phone and he sees an essay that she wrote and he calls it a suicide note. She took creative writing the semester before. Now, I don't know what the purpose of that. We'll never know what the purpose of what she wrote and deleted. But this is, the suggestion was that she left a, quote, suicide note. Total malarkey. Total malarkey. There's something she wrote on the 25th. She talked to her mother on the 25th. She was with her boyfriend on the night of the 25th. She was talking to her mother every single day after that. We see pictures of her smiling. We see pictures of her having fun. We see pictures of her partying. Total baloney, what they're trying to sell to you. And why? Am I suggesting that there's some kind of conspiracy? No, I'm suggesting they're lazy and they're incompetent. Just so I'm clear. I'm not suggesting any sort of conspiracy that there's some kind of somebody in power that wants this to go. No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that there's incompetence and laziness on the part of the detective. That's what I'm suggesting. The suggestion they've made is she wrote an essay, because it's not a note. She wrote an essay on the 25th that she deleted, and then she goes and kills herself 4 days later. This is their logic. It's really ridiculous. So, a few things they didn't bother to even explain. I don't even know what they did, honestly. I know what we've done. We sent someone to the apartment. We had someone take the dimensions of the apartment. We had somebody measure the railing and the height of the railing. We know how tall Brianna was. She was 5'2". The railing's 44 inches. You don't fall over it. There's no furniture out in the balcony. There's nothing to climb up on, to jump off. Anyone that's on that little balcony, it's literally as big as this. It's a little bitty old balcony. And there's a window just like that you can see onto the balcony. The apartment is like a dorm. It's very small. There's no way you can be in that apartment and hide. If you're in the apartment, people know you're in the apartment. It's a little small apartment. No offense to the apartment complex, but that's what it is. It's like a little double-room dorm with a small balcony with no furniture. These are easy things to find out. Things that you would say, wait a minute, you're saying that this young lady was out on the balcony and she was 5'2", she had to somehow climb over the railing to try to kill herself? Then certainly you guys could see that. Certainly you knew that was happening. How could that possibly be? It doesn't make any sense because it didn't happen that way. She was 100 pounds, 5'2". There's no way she could fall over that railing accidentally. There's no way to be on the balcony and you be inside and not know somebody's on the balcony. It's not possible. It's almost impossible to be inside the apartment and not know somebody's in the apartment with you, even though there's 2 little bedrooms. This is called common sense. I'll tell you what's most concerning. They didn't explore the fight that Brianna apparently had with somebody at the tailgate at the Austin Rugby Club. I think she went to, what was the name of the tailgate that they had there? Some student organization.
Latin Economic Business Development.
Latin Economic Business Development tailgate at the Austin Rugby Club. There was an altercation between her and another female. No investigation of that. Turns out that other female was in the apartment with her that night. There was a witness between 12:30 and 1 a.m. who posted on TikTok. Many of you have seen it. Young man posted on TikTok that he could hear up above at around the 17th floor in that general area fighting, screaming. Somebody saying, "Get off of me!" And then a muffled sound. He posted it, got many, many views. You can get on TikTok and look at it now. We talked to him this morning. You guess what? Here's the irony. Or maybe here's the tragedy. The police didn't bother to talk to him. Now, why wouldn't they talk to him? He had incredibly specific information about what he heard. He could hear it loud enough. He could hear the words that were spoken. "Get off of me," and screaming. And then a muffled cry between 12:30 and 1 p.m. right next to the apartment. We had an expert say, wait a minute, could he hear that? We had to engage an expert to say, is it possible that he could actually hear that? The expert said, absolutely. Absolutely could hear that. It makes a lot of sense. Never talked to by the police. We have a witness who was in the apartment across from the apartment where this apparently occurred, who could hear running back and forth and screaming. And then she said, I could tell something bad had happened. Did y'all know this? Ridiculous. Her entire family was in the apartment. The police could have talked to her and several other people. They failed to look into the anonymous message that was sent. There was an anonymous message that was posted that said, hey, I have specific information that this young lady was locked out on the balcony. Did you know that? It's not part of the investigation. Why is it not part of the investigation? Because they made their decision literally within minutes. Within minutes. Now here's where it gets a little dicey, and here's where I'm having, and I want to be very careful because I don't want to be accusing anybody, because I'm not accusing anybody other than the APD, the Austin Police Department, not doing its job. At first we were told that she jumped from the balcony and the three ladies, the three young women that were in the apartment, and we're talking about, as I said, a tiny little apartment, were asleep and didn't know where she was. That's what we were told first. That they were asleep, they didn't even know she was on the balcony, they didn't know where she was, and that's the reason why they didn't call the police until 12:15 the next day. That's what we were told. That's part of the cops' timeline. Okay? Put up the timeline, Ryan. They said, according to the plot, we haven't talked to them, these who were in the apartment, three of them, one of which was the lessor or the lessee of the apartment, who vacated the apartment the very next day and never went back. Did you know that? This is the timeline that the police gave us yesterday. This is the timeline. And if you can't look at that timeline and 1 second point out the problem of that timeline, then you're not doing your job. We'll get to it. So at first we're told that the three women didn't know where she was and they were asleep. That's what we were told. And that they didn't know where she was, they were looking for her, and they were texting her mom, and it wasn't, and they decided about 12:14 the next day, 6 hours later almost, that they decided at that point they couldn't find her, so they were going to call the police. This is what we were told by the Austin Police Department. Lay aside what was heard happening at about 12:30 to 1 o'clock that night. Lay aside what the witness across the hall said. Lay aside what the man down on the street said. Just disregard all that. This is what the police say. It must be right, according to them, because they did such a thorough investigation. This is what they gave us. Not one of you have asked a question about it. Not one of you. But this is what they said. Her friends called the police at 12:14 the next day because they didn't know where she was. They hadn't seen her. They thought maybe she had went out. That's what they said. Keep that in your mind. When I asked the police that, like, wait a minute, how is that possible? How is that possible? A whole group of 14 or so people came into the apartment that night after they'd been out partying. They got there about 11 or so. Everybody left, right? That's what they say. And it left just 4 girls there, 4 young women, right? And the 4 young women, 3 of them didn't call the police till 12 o'clock the next day because they didn't know where she was. That's what the police say. Lay aside what the witnesses have said about that, and lay aside the fact that that's a really small apartment. It's hard to get lost in that little small apartment. I want you to look very carefully. The first entry on the timeline. According to the police, let me walk over there. Excuse me. Brianna did not have her phone. She didn't have her phone, so she had to call. To make a call, according to the police, she borrowed her friend's phone, meaning one of the 3 women that was in the apartment. Now look at this very carefully. According to the police, she borrowed her friend's phone and made a call from 12:43, and it lasted 1 minute. At 12:46, 2 minutes later, the police were responding to a 911 call because she was outside on the ground. Now do the math. So you're probably thinking, well, she must have, she hung up her friend's phone and she just jumped. She hung up the phone and she dropped it on the balcony and she jumped. First question you should have is, where's the phone? What did she do with the phone? I asked the police that 3 different times. 3 times. They sidestepped me every time until this morning. They sidestepped me because they hadn't thought about it, because they rushed to judgment. They finally answered the question this morning. And you know what they said to me this morning? And they said it, and they didn't even realize what they were telling me because they're so sloppy. I made them put it in writing. I have it here. I'll read it to you. Austin Police Department did not find the phone on Miss Aguilera. Miss Aguilera returned the phone to its owner before she was seen going onto the balcony. Now, how is that possible? That is 180 degrees different than what you told us previous. That is absolutely contrary to what you told us previous. Previous, you said the 3 women were asleep. You said they didn't know where she went. But then when I asked the one question over and over, and you had to answer it, then all of a sudden we realized, if she did in fact use her friend's phone, like they claim, if she did in fact use it for 1 minute and was found already 2 minutes later by a passerby and the police were already responding to a 911 call, think about that, what the ramifications of that are. That whoever phone she was using was standing right next to her as she went over the balcony, if she went over the balcony. Now you're saying to yourselves, well, shoot, there's got to be a reasonable explanation. We should talk to the witnesses. We should investigate. We should figure this out. That's what we're saying. Now you're getting it. You sat there, and with all due respect, you all, I watched it. You all sat there and you had this corporal or whatever he is, lead detective, and Mrs. Rodriguez will tell you how he is and her interactions with him in just one moment. But you let him stand at a podium just like this and feed you total baloney. And all you had to do is say, wait a minute, detective, wait a minute. She borrowed somebody's phone. Where is that phone? Maybe she must have went over the railing with it. She had to give somebody. No, according to him, she returned it to its owner before she was seen walking back out to the balcony. Absolutely impossible. Very suspicious. We have a problem. And I shouldn't have to ask the detective 3 times the same question, should I? I shouldn't have to do that. But I did it, and I'm going to keep doing it. And another thing, why would you tell these kids, the boyfriend who Stephanie knows, who's been over to her house, who her daughter has been dating, they're in love, why would you, detective, tell him not to speak to Stephanie Rodriguez? Don't talk to her. What kind of foolishness is that? Just absolute insensitive and inhumane in my view. Before I go any further, I'm getting a little incensed here. Let me introduce to you Stephanie Rodriguez. She wants to read to you a statement, and I hope you'll give her your full attention.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Rodriguez, and I'm the mother of Brianna Aguilera. Brianna was a driven, disciplined, and caring person. She was beautiful. She was a loving daughter, a protective big sister, and a caring granddaughter. A second mom to her two younger brothers. Her baby was her little Yorkie, Ava. All of us were her best friend. She made everyone around her feel loved and supported. I considered her my best friend, not just a mother-daughter relationship. We talked every day, and she would tell me everything. I miss her so much. Her brothers miss her too. Her father and grandmother miss her so much, and so do all her friends. Brianna grew up as an all-star cheerleader, an incredible athlete. She was an honor student and a member of the National Honor Society all throughout school. Christmas was her favorite time of year. She loved decorating, baking, and hiding the elf on the shelf for her little brother. Her brothers already miss her so much. Brianna graduated magna cum laude from high school. She was accepted to many colleges, but chose Texas A&M. She was studying political science and criminal justice. She was not like most young girls. She loved writing more than watching TV. Her favorite class at A&M were her creative writing classes. She dreamed of attending law school in New York and wanted to become a criminal defense lawyer. She was so smart and had such a bright future. She dreamt of a life of where she could make a difference. My daughter was not suicidal. I know my daughter better than anyone. We spoke every day. I spoke to her on the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th. Even the morning of the 28th, she was not suicidal. To the Austin police, I can deal with you being annoyed each time I called or tried to talk to you. I can deal with how arrogantly you talked down to us each time we talked. I can deal with you telling my daughter's friends not to talk to me like I am some sort of criminal. But I cannot deal with you doing a news conference and saying false things about my child without a thorough investigation. I cannot deal with you jumping to conclusions and not performing an actual investigation. I cannot deal with your failure to do your job. Do your job.
The police, as much as I've always been a supporter of the police, with all due respect to them, do not determine cause of death. That's not their job. Their job, that job, is specifically reserved for the medical examiner's office. There is no medical examiner in the county, then it's the JP in the county. In Austin, it's the job of the medical examiner to determine cause of death, not Detective Robert Marshall. The medical examiner told us that a rape kit was done and the autopsy will be performed. It'll take us 60 to 90 days. So that begs the question, why did Detective Robert Marshall tell us that they had reached their conclusion and that the investigation was complete? Doesn't work that way. How is it that Robert Marshall has determined the cause of this young woman's death? He doesn't have that authority. His job is to question all the witnesses. We've already offered up several. We'll offer up several more for him to do his job. Hopefully a different investigator will be involved. There are many questions about what was done here, about what happened on that night. And it's already going to be incredibly difficult for the Austin Police Department to conduct an objective investigation at this point. And that's because the way that the Austin Police Department has handled this and jumped to conclusions within hours of this tragedy disqualifies the Austin Police Department from further investigation of this matter. So, I'm doing this today. I'm calling on the Austin Police Department to reopen the investigation with a different investigator, to reassign Robert Marshall and put this in the hands of a different investigator. Failing that, I will be calling on the governor to engage the Texas Rangers. We will submit a formal packet to them with all the evidence we have gathered so far, and we will gather. We intend to present 30 to 40 pages of information, statements, and other factual data that they need to do a proper investigation. And here are the questions I hope are answered. Austin Police Department, why would you close your investigation without having all the facts? Why not wait for the autopsy results? Why not wait for the rape kit result? And who would you send it to if you've already made up your mind? Why not question all the witnesses, the ones that we've questioned? The young man who was down on the ground, who heard somebody say, "Get off of me," or the young lady and her family across the hall, who heard running, screaming, and, quote, something bad had happened. Why not question them? Why not examine all the phones of the friend group? We asked that question in the Zoom call. You know what we were told? We don't have the power to look at their phones. Hogwash. Hogwash. You have that power. And you need to do it. Why hold a hasty press conference to announce that this young lady had killed herself without even talking to her mother to see what her affect was leading up to the 28th? You heard what she said. She knows her daughter. She knows her daughter more than anyone. Why not talk to the friends immediately? Why wait? Why wait to talk to her friend group? Why not talk to them immediately? Why did you let the owner of the apartment, that is the young woman who was leasing the apartment, vacate the apartment? Literally vacate the apartment and leave town. Why won't the boyfriend talk to us? The boyfriend that was a longtime boyfriend of this young lady and was very friendly with her mother. Why can't we see the texts? Why can't we see the phones? Where is her wallet? Where is Brianna's wallet? It's missing. They didn't tell you that, did they? I see you writing. They didn't tell you that, did you? If you had asked the question, they would have told you that. They told you what they wanted you to hear. They didn't tell you the complete facts. Her wallet is missing. Why did her friends wait until 12:14 the next day to report her missing? If she had borrowed the phone and returned it the night of, 2 minutes before she jumped her death. Why didn't they examine the balcony? Why didn't they examine the railing? Why didn't they see if there was some sort of table there, a chair there that somebody who's 5'2" would have to step on to get over the railing? Why didn't they look for scuff marks? Why didn't they do anything? They didn't even bother to look to whether if somebody did in fact jump off the balcony, whether they would end up in the tree that's 30 some odd foot forward of the apartment. Y'all didn't ask that question either. The laws of physics aren't different in the city of Austin, you realize. The same laws of physics as exist here in Houston. If, when the phone call came in at 12:46 and the officers responded to the 911 call, if it was so obvious that this young woman had fallen to her death, why was it till 6 o'clock, 5 hours later, that they ever went into the apartment complex? If it was so obvious that that's how she had died. These are the questions you should be asking. At the press conference, you didn't ask any questions. You didn't ask any questions. You just lapped it up like it was cool water and you were very thirsty. Very disappointing to me.
You have been listening in there to a press conference from the family of Brianna Aguilera and their lawyer there as they are continuing to assume we expect them to take questions here. But we are going to sneak in a quick break here on Brookland News Live. We do have a lot more we're going to talk about a little later here. Give us just a moment. We'll take a quick break. We're back here in just a moment. Welcome back into Brooklyn News Live. We are continuing to monitor the Aguilera family attorneys holding that press conference after the Austin Police Department ruled that Breonna Aguilera died by suicide, something her lawyers are testifying against and saying that's false. Just a few moments left in this press conference. Let's continue listening in.
This was sloppy. It was not thorough. It was kind of embarrassing. We're going to get a different detective to start over. I don't expect that to happen. I expect what's going to happen is I'm going to send a formal letter to the governor asking for the Texas Rangers to be engaged. And I'm going to submit a detailed packet to the governor's office and ultimately to the Texas Rangers to actually do an investigation to figure out what actually happened, because we still don't know. Notice I haven't suggested to you what happened, because I don't know. I'm starting to get a sneaking suspicion. So I've given you a lot of information. So what is your headline? Your headline is this: there are serious and disturbing questions raised with regard to the Austin Police Department's handling of the investigation surrounding the death of Breonna Aguilera. The Texas Rangers have now been called to intervene. Thank you very much. Let's go.
How long are you?
He did answer that question there. Sorry, couldn't quite get it there. They just wrapped up that press conference there. Again, that was lawyer Tony Busby speaking, and her mother as well there for a short moment there, as he's just calling for the Texas Rangers to investigate the death of Breonna Aguilera. She's that Texas A&M student, and for the Austin Police Department to remove the lead detective from the case. Busby and Aguilera's mother dispute the police department's ruling of suicide, citing a lack of thorough investigation there. So we're going to keep our eye on that. We want to turn to another story, might be a little uplifting. Christmas across the nation. It is that time of year for people across the nation lighting up Christmas trees, and we've seen a few around from the Capitol to other places across the nation. We're taking a look at them. This is Christmas Across the Nation, a special segment here on Brooklyn News Live.
Excellent. I hope all you kiddos know that your moms and dads are heroes who fight and work to support our country. So we are going to light a new permanent Christmas tree, and this one is a beauty. A 14-foot Nellie Stevens holly from Chantilly, Virginia, local. They say when the tree was planted, there were bald eagles flying overhead. True story. Fitting for this building. It will grow to 30 feet tall and live for at least 50 years, a fitting tribute to the warrior ethos here. It replaced a small serviceberry tree that was slated for removal anyway. So, all right, kiddos, you ready? Should we count down and light the tree? All right. All right, put your hands on it, Gwenny. Everybody else, get up there, Luke. All right, we're going to count down from 5. We'll get it right. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
Of the U.S. Forest Service, architect of the Capitol, Thomas Austin, and youth tree lighter, Grady Armstrong, 4th grade student from Virginia City, Nevada.
Well, good evening. Welcome to the Christmas tree lighting ceremony here at the United States Capitol. I am Tom Austin, the 13th architect of the Capitol, and I am honored to be here this evening as Speaker Mike Johnson lights the 2025 Capitol Christmas tree with the help.
Mr. Speaker, Senator Cortez Masto, Senator Rosen, Representative Amadei, Secretary Rollins, and other distinguished guests. My name is Tom Schultz, and I'm honored to serve as the 21st Chief of the U.S. Forest Service, where I have the responsibility of overseeing the management and protection of 193 million acres of national forest and grasslands across this great nation. Today is an exciting day, not only for me, but for our entire agency, especially the mighty and talented team from the Humboldt-Tiobe National Forest. The Forest Service has a long and beautiful tradition of providing and delivering a fresh-cut tree to our nation's capital, going back to 1970. This is the 55th year and the first year for the Silver State to hold this incredible opportunity.
I now have the privilege of inviting the man of the hour we have heard so much about. He's far more qualified than I to light this magnificent tree, and I'm going to ask him to join us up here. Grady will come up. Grady Armstrong comes here all the way from Virginia City, as you heard. That's right. This is his first trip to Washington, D.C. He's 9 years old. He is a gifted young writer. He won this year's Capitol Christmas Tree Essay Contest among the hundreds of participants, as we heard. I'm also told, and this is not hyperbole, okay, what went into this essay was literal blood, sweat, and tears. Isn't that true? Grady, I heard you cut your pinky while writing this. Isn't that true? Yes. Okay. So we want to thank you for your sacrifice, young man, and for your great talent that you're sharing with us. And I can assure everyone his painstaking work was well worth our wait. So, Grady, my dad was a firefighter also, and we got a lot in common, almost even our height, my friend. But we're going to bring you a podium here so you can, our little stand we can stand on. Is it under here? It'll help a little bit. Grady, everybody, here we go.
Thank you, Speaker Johnson. Hi, my name is Grady Armstrong, and I am 9 years old in the 4th grade at Hugh Gallagher Elementary School in Virginia City, Nevada. My grandpa worked at Mount Rose Ski Area for nearly 50 years, and my dad is a firefighter at Lake Tahoe. My mom is a teacher right here in Virginia City. They have shown me the love for the forest and country to know how special Nevada's public land and national forests are. These lands are full of wonder, from big animals like elk, mule deer, bighorn sheep, and even moose, to smaller animals like fish, lizards, and birds. Hiking with my family, I have seen water bubble out of the earth in places that look super dry. These springs give life to so many plants and animals. Sometimes you can find arrowheads near these springs, a reminder of the life they gave tribes that lived off the land. We also love seeing ancient petroglyphs carved into rocks by people who lived here long ago. My favorite wilderness areas are Mount Rose and Arc Dome. We've also visited the Sheldon Antelope Refuge and the Massacre Rim Dark Sky Sanctuary, where the night sky is so dark you can see millions of stars. One of my favorite things to do is when our family takes what my mom and dad like to call Nevada highways, which are nothing more than dirt roads in the middle of nowhere. We've found ghost towns, abandoned mines, and the most amazing untouched landscapes. You don't have to go far to enjoy Nevada. Right from my school playground, you can look east for hundreds of miles over the mountain ranges that make up the Humboldt-Tiobe National Forest. Last month, we went to the top of Mount Davidson and watched the sunset over the Sierras, and at the same time howled at the full moon as it rose over the Nevada landscape. Nevada is not just a desert, it's full of life, history, and beauty, and I think everyone should know how important it is to protect and enjoy these amazing places. Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
That's awesome. All right. Now, that was amazing. You are a tremendous ambassador for Nevada, and also you have a future as a speechwriter here on Capitol Hill, okay? We always need improvement in the comm shop, so you can come help us, okay? Okay. I want to invite the Nevada congressional delegation and Lieutenant Governor Anthony and Mr. Austin and Chief Schultz for the lighting of the tree. Y'all join us up here.
Put your jacket on now.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Okay, there you go, young man. Beautiful.
Isn't that great?
Oh, she's
Well,
Thank you.
now, Grady's going to do the honors for us, and everyone can count down with us. We're going to count down from 5. Okay,
Okay.
ready, everybody? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go.
Yay!
3, 2, 1. Light her up!
Silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Cold outside, but we'll still keep it hot, hot, hot. Wild geese that fly with their moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things.
I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. Wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom.
A look there at Christmas across the nation here. As Christmas just gonna go right now, 20 days away, and that is it. A look live because in Washington, where we were just at Christmas, weather is already there. Snow falling there in the DMV. We will continue to monitor that. Brookland News Live returns here in just a moment. Welcome back into Brooklyn News Live here. Just about 18 minutes away from wrapping our coverage up, and there's still a lot of news to follow. We'll take you to an event that occurred yesterday. Senator Dick Durbin holding a press conference on the DREAM Act. The DREAM Act, first introduced by Dick Durbin, the Democratic senator from Illinois, back in 2001. It's a long-running immigration proposal that would create a pathway to legal status and eventually citizenship for undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children, often called dreamers. The bill would allow eligible young people who meet requirements such as graduating high school, passing background checks, and completing college, military service, or steady employment to earn a citizenship here. Let's listen in. This is a press conference from earlier today from Dick Durbin in Illinois.
We're also glad to be joined today by Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, a Latina representing Nevada, and Senator Alex Padilla will be joining us in just a short time. We're all here today not only because we care deeply about the people that would benefit from the DREAM Act, but also because we know the impact that it would have on millions of American families, businesses, and communities across the country. We only have to look to the DACA program to know that when we come together around common sense solutions, we can make a change that benefits millions of us. The DACA program has been one of the most successful immigration policies in modern U.S. history. And it is the...
Okay, we're going to go back to that. Excuse me here. We're going to skip to the point where they take questions. Thought I might have already been there. Looks like I was just at the first part of it all. Let's go to the point where they actually take questions. Okay, never mind. We're going to go to the point where Dick Durbin speaks on this because this is a bill that he did, in fact, introduce. Let's go back there to this press conference from yesterday.
she asked Clarisol, what can I do? And Clarisol did her good work as usual and came to the conclusion that the law said very clearly, Teresa Lee had to leave the United States and wait 10 years to apply to come back into this country. It sounded fundamentally unfair for an 18-year-old young woman to face that kind of a prospect. And so Clarisol came to me and said, boss, what can you do? That's when I decided to sit down and start writing a law to change the situation. Fortunately, at my side was a man who is still with me today, one of the smartest people in the Senate Judiciary Committee staff and a person I've been fortunate to have by my side during this whole struggle, and that's Joe Zogby. Raise your hand. We wrote the DREAM Act, and we started to introduce it and ran into a problem. There was a senator from Utah named Orrin Hatch who had the same idea. And he said to me, you're stealing my idea. We said, we're not, Mr. Chairman. He was Chairman Judiciary. It's the Hatch-Durbin bill from this point forward. And so we worked together for 2 years before he decided he didn't want to go any further with it. And I've been carrying it ever since as a lead sponsor. We've passed it at times in the Senate. We've passed it at times in the House. We never quite got it together, and now we must. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge some folks from my home state of Illinois and the city of Chicago who particularly deserve recognition at this moment. They've joined us today. I want to acknowledge that we have a group called Catholic Priests for Justice for Immigrants and the Step Up, Speak Out campaign. Father Larry Dowling. Father, raise your hand or stand up. For the Resurrection Project in Chicago, Father Brendan Curran. Michael O'Kenzie Cruz from the Coalition for Spiritual and Public Leadership. Olivia Erbach with Step Up, Speak Out campaign. Olivia. And Lauren Foley with the Speak Up, Step Out campaign. Where are you, Lauren? Particular recognition to the priest I'm about to introduce. He tried to figure out what he could do as an individual priest in person to help this cause. He came up with an idea very few people would come up with. He decided to walk from Chicago to New York. Father Gary Graff, raise your hand. "22 days? How many days of walking?
56.
56 days. Great. You took your time. Well, you're welcome to be here today. And thank you for your inspiration, and this effort continues. Let me tell you a word or two. I've spent the last 24 years trying to get the DREAM Act signed into law. Over those years, I've shared 150 stories of dreamers on the Senate floor. I'll bet some people in the room were part of that effort. We met hundreds of dreamers along the way who told the story of why this law was necessary. In desperation, I turned to a friend of mine, a former Senate colleague by the name Barack Obama. And I said, Mr. President, can you do anything by executive order to help these dreamers? And he came up with DACA. And DACA has helped over 800,000 individuals have legal status in this country. We don't take it for granted that it will continue. We've got to continue the fight to make sure everything we can do preserves DACA and for those who currently are benefited by it. The passage of the DREAM Act would be a certainty that's true. Today, as we prepare to introduce the DREAM Act again, we are reflecting on the many dreamers I've met who serve in our country in so many important capacities: doctors, teachers, nurses, policemen, small business owners. One I'll mention, and Senator Masto may personally know this individual, Dr. Manuel Bernal, who was brought to the United States when he was 2 years old. I spoke with him at the height of the COVID pandemic as he was working on the front lines protecting America. He's now an emergency medicine physician in Nevada, but equally important, he's still on the front line, helping this country. I'm happy to say that Manuel is now a permanent resident. America is better because of people like him for his service in the medical field in our communities. At this point, I also want to acknowledge all of the individuals who stood up bravely, like Gracia, and proclaimed themselves as dreamers. There was a time when their parents and friends warned them, don't say a word publicly. Well, when you tell a young person full of ideals and determination, don't say a word personally, they'll do just the opposite. And thank goodness they did. The dreamers and all of them deserve a round of applause for their determination. This moment in the history of our nation is a terrible, challenging moment for so many people, not just the dreamers, but immigrants in general. I've been both angry and heartbroken to watch masked federal agents parading in their combat uniforms with automatic weapons in the city of Chicago. I've seen them wreak havoc in these communities and sow fear among people who are afraid to even go outside to go to church or to go shopping. And it's time that we bring an end to this madness that's happening in the streets of the cities of America. I think there is hope. The DREAM Act is a key step toward true, positive, bipartisan change. We must never stop fighting for these good immigrant families and their children who bring so much to this country. We are a nation of immigrants. I am proud to be the son of an immigrant. If you visit my office in the Capitol, you'll see behind my desk my mother's naturalization certificate. I want everybody who comes into my office to understand this is the proud son of an immigrant who's doing everything he can to help the next generation of immigrants be part of America's future. So it's an honor to be here today. The fight has just begun, and many people who've been at it for years, I say the same thing. I'm not giving up on you. Don't give up on me. Thank you.
Senator Dick Durbin, after he has reintroduced the DREAM Act, explaining the entire story there of it all and how it all came about. Brookland News Live will return here in just a moment. Welcome back into Brookland News Live here as we wrap up our coverage. We do want to turn to some other news that happened today. A pretty serious wreck happening on a Houston highway, rather, and it's sparking a lot of concern. There are police relating it to carjacking. I'll just let you listen in to this live video we have. This is from earlier today from KHOU, the local station there in Houston. Let's listen in.
I'm an assistant chief with the Houston Police Department. I want to first start off and say that everything that we have right now is preliminary information. It's still a very fluid scene with many moving pieces that we're trying to piece together. As you can see behind me, it's still an active scene. The facts of the case that we have right now are at 8:29 a.m. we received a call of a major accident involving 4 vehicles. Behind me, as you can see, the suspect's vehicle was a white SUV, and we're getting reports from witnesses that the suspect exited his SUV after causing this accident and fired rounds in the air. He then carjacked a black SUV and fled from this scene onto 45 North. A couple blocks north on Woodridge, he carjacked another black SUV. I'm not sure if it was involving another accident or that vehicle was just disabled. That will be in our investigation. So he carjacked another vehicle at gunpoint. It was another black SUV, went further north on 45. Our officers got the general broadcast on the radio to be on the lookout for this vehicle. Our officers were actively looking for this vehicle, making attempts to see what direction of travel he went. I want to say a big thank you to Precinct 1, who heard our broadcast and was able to locate the third scene where he was actually attempting to carjack another white Dodge Ram that was stranded on the freeway right in front of George R. Brown on 59 heading northbound. So as he's attempting to carjack that vehicle, the Precinct 1 constable comes up to the suspect and is able to get this suspect arrested and secured without any further incident at that location. I do want to say right now that we do have a deceased black female that was deceased in this vehicle, one of the vehicles behind us. Unfortunately, these are holiday seasons and it's going to be tough for their family to deal with this loss. Our hearts and our prayers go out to this family, and we ask the Houstonians to please pray for this family during this difficult time in their lives. As of all the other information that we have, it's going to be a very long, drawn-out investigation. We expect several felony charges to be placed on this individual, and we'll see what the DA charges this individual with. That's all I have for now. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Did he hit the black car first and then kind of started the chain reaction? Was there multiple hits?
So that we don't have that determined right now as of how the accident happened, but we do have our vehicular crimes division piecing out, taking photographs to recreate how the accident actually occurred, and that will be determined later on in the investigation how exactly that accident occurred.
And you mentioned that witnesses said he was shooting in the air. Any indication that the lady in the car might have been shot, or does it appear to just be the impact from the accident?
So I don't know the answer to that question. We're still going to wait on the medical examiner, and all the notifications have to go out to be respectful of her family and make sure that they're notified of her situation.
Any other injuries other than the fatality you spoke of?
So the suspect had minor injuries, and he was transported to a local hospital where our officers are with him at this moment.
Everyone out here is okay.
Everyone out here is okay, but we're the people that you see out here are witnesses to this very big scene that we have. So it's going to be a long, drawn-out scene. I ask everybody, the Houstonians, to pack their patience. This is going to be closed off for quite some time. I can't even give you a timeline because it's going to be a long, drawn-out scene. So please find different routes to get to wherever you need to go.
Preliminary suspect shot. You don't think it hit anything?
So as of now, I don't have that information. The reports I have is that he got out the SUV and started firing shots in the air, and then carjacked a individual at gunpoint, and that was a black SUV that he carjacked, and then he carjacked a second SUV at gunpoint.
But your deceased was because of the crash?
Correct.
Chief, so literally there was no actual act of chase, there was an actual search for the vehicle.
Yes, there was no police pursuit. This was a major accident, and as a result of that, we're looking for the guy that failed to stop and give information.
Houston police, they're holding a press conference on this crash that occurred on a local interstate there, leading to the man who caused this collision to open fire, carjack a vehicle that was a nearby in the crash, to my understanding here, then go down and later carjack another vehicle. Extremely interesting. We'll keep our eyes on this. We are going to monitor a lot. We're monitoring a lot of stuff. Remember, you can join me weekdays from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. to wrap up our coverage here. It's been a pleasure to be with you throughout the last 4 hours or so as we wrap up our coverage. Again, that is Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, weekdays, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. for Brookland News Live as we take you to the scene of these events, listen into the full speeches, and much more. That does it for this edition of Brookland News Live. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back here on Monday.